So today I got, as you all now know, I'm a late substitution. And I realise that I'm talking to a room full of people who are probably much more accomplished speakers than I ever will be. Because to tell you the truth, I'm not interested in public speaking as an art form. I'm interested in outcomes. So what I want to do is give you some tips and tricks that I've used in the past in order to successfully achieve outcomes. Because I will not teach you how to enthrall a huge audience, but I will teach you how to identify that one person who can make a difference to your entire life and how to successfully achieve what you're setting out to do. So, the title of my presentation is actually Life's a Pitch. I was tempted to have a different name, but then I thought, no, this is probably a very polite audience, so I won't. So, tell me what a pitch is. Hans. Renee.
Elevator pitch. 6 seconds. You give purpose, how it benefits someone, and how much it will cost.
Okay. An elevator pitch. I work in technology, that's the one that I'm most familiar with. What other types of pitches can you have?
Baseball. Yeah, baseball.
Okay. Thank you for that one.
Yeah.
We can go through the Oxford English Dictionary and see all the other types of pitches that there are.
Picking up a girl in a club.
Absolutely. Any other types of pitches?
Some.
Okay.
Ordering food at the grocery.
Pretty much everything that you do in life is a pitch of some sort of description. So, if you're going to an interview, you are pitching yourself. It's that simple. If you go to a bar and you want to be served quickest, you're pitching the barman. Every single thing that you're doing on social media effectively is a pitch to somebody. It might be because you're looking to portray that you have a very glamorous, exotic lifestyle because it's very, very carefully edited. It might be to attract a specific girl to make somebody jealous. For whatever reason, everything that you're doing on that you're broadcasting is there for an audience. You need to know who that audience is and what you want them to think. Anybody here in the room working marketing or advertising? That is pitches, one after another. A very specific type of pitch, but a pitch nonetheless. And the famous elevator pitch. So, if you're writing a CV, if you're writing a proposal into work, all of these things are pitches. Every meeting that you attend, there should be a pitch at it. So, as the title says, life is a pitch. So what I want to do, because I'm a late substitution, is I want everybody to stand up. And I want you to find somebody who you have not spoken to before. And I want you to say to them who you are, what you're working on, what you want help with, and why am I here. So go. You have 2 minutes. Okay.
I
Okay, so clap once if you can hear me. Clap twice if you can hear me. Clap 3 times if you can hear me. So you can also clap down again. I hope you find that was a useful exercise. I'll tell you why. 2 reasons. First thing is that if you attend a conference or something of this nature, the value that you're going to get is more likely to be out of the other attendees than out of the speakers. First thing. So ensure that as you progress through the conference that you're doing this, you're having a proper conversation instead of going, oh, what do you think of the coffee, or the food, or the venue, or the fact that it's European capital of culture. None of that has any relevance to any of the things that you're looking to achieve. So always start off with, what do I want to achieve? So, the why am I here? And our very pedantic young lady here, who will probably start talking about the meaning of life.
Huh?
Yes. You're bored. So what are you looking to achieve out of attending this conference?
ECP points.
Okay. So mission accomplished. Anybody else?
Fame. I'm collecting votes. I'm collecting votes. I'm making people go to the Timisoara conference to get votes for program quality director.
Okay. You have a purpose. Everybody else?
I just want to sound more confident and look confident when I pitch something.
Vote for me.
Okay. So what I'm going to do now is advise and try and give you some practical tips and tricks that you can use in terms of pitching. And remember, this is something that you can use in every aspect of your life. It doesn't matter if it's trying to approach a girl. It doesn't matter if you're in the office and if you're trying to pitch an idea. Because, let me tell you something, as somebody who has set up and run companies that have had 1,400 people, as a person who advises the boards of some of the biggest companies in the world, it is not about your inherent talent. It is not about how hard you work. It is about your ability to convey what your idea is and get people to sign off on it that will determine your success. And that is a harsh reality. But time and time again, I'm sitting at board meetings and I'm looking at some of the people there and I'm thinking, how in the hell did they get this job? And this is not a one-off occurrence. Almost every time, please edit this out, that that I am at major corporations. I'm looking around and I'm identifying a few people and I'm thinking, they really do not know their subject. So but they can be exceptionally good at pitching an idea and knowing when to pitch it. Because there is an art form about that. So the first thing is always know your audience. I now know to ignore her and him. They've already achieved what they've set out to do. The fact that they're still awake, that's just a bonus for me. Maybe not for you guys. And an example of that is this young gentleman here, who we all know, founder of Facebook, was presenting at the Mobile World Conference in Barcelona, which has about 30,000 attendees, and he was presenting in a room of maybe about 2,000 people. And as soon as the announcement was made, these tickets got massively oversubscribed. This was a hot ticket in town. Everybody wanted to sit and listen to Mark Zuckerberg talk about Facebook and what he was doing going forward. And even though the people already had the tickets, they were still queuing outside for more than 2.5 hours before it started in order to get the best seats. Talk about having a captive audience. Now, same audience, 30 minutes later. You can Google it, you can check it, this is fact. And the reason why is because the structure of the event was they put him in, and then they brought in the partners that were talking about internet.org, who were given equal face time. And this is what happened to the audience, because nobody actually cared. Nobody cares about the technology infrastructure that is going to go in for anything to happen. Because any of you who are sitting here with a device in your hands, that device is almost unrecognizable to something that you used 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So the technology in itself doesn't matter. We just go, oh, that's cool, I want it. And we have drawers full of stuff that we thought, oh, that's cool, we want it. But we haven't actually thrown it out and get into the bin. True? So the technology in itself never matters. It is about what you can achieve with it. It is about the outcome. Okay? So always understand what your audience wants and try and deliver that. And if you don't, that's the result that you will inevitably get. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in a coffee factory with people with coffee going straight into the veins. It is only a matter of time. Know the purpose of the things that you are doing. Because if you do not know why you are doing it, why you're attending this lecture, what you're going to do with it, nothing is going to happen. And if you do not have a purpose, nobody is going to care about anything that you do. Because the one thing that you're going to hear me time and time say is, I don't care. Because that is our default position. So, hands up who would like to do something that would save the planet. Now, if that same thing meant that you're going to have a big, crappy incinerator puffing out smoke and noxious smells in your backyard, how many of you would still do it?
You get money? What money?
For how much money?
You're saving the world, you're not getting money. This is the price.
See, that's the thing. Is our default position is I don't care. So if you're going in at work and you're asking for a raise, the person sitting opposite you is going, yeah, I don't care. And unless you make them care, you're not going to get an outcome. So always know your purpose. Now, I am often asked to judge these startup competitions. And it is amazing what goes on at these judging panels. Because normally the things aren't that well organised, being honest. So, I recently was the main judge on a competition, and there was £100,000 sterling as the first prize for the winning pitch. So I turn up and I say, okay, what is the pitching criteria? To the event organisers. And went,
What? What do you need?
we don't have one. Okay. So why are you giving this £100,000 away? And they go, publicity.
Fair.
So somebody had thought, okay, £400,000 spent, we're going to get more publicity than if we were to spend that off advertising. Great. So I said, why are you doing this? What benefits can you get? So we end up sitting doing that. But this was all literally just before the contestants were coming up on stage to do the pitches. So I didn't really have time to create a structure. And immediately after the event, and I think there were 14 different companies that stood up and pitched, my first question was going, first team, who can remember what it is that they do? And unless more than 50% of the judges put up their hands, we just threw them in the bin. So companies who spent all this time and effort preparing for a pitch, and they didn't do the simple things. So comments were, no idea what they was that they pitched. This is the worst one you can ever have. I wonder who their graphic designer is. That basically meant that everything that they did was complete nonsense, but there are lots of pretty pictures, and I want to steal that person and hire them. You can read this quicker than I can. And these go on and on and on and on. And you would be amazed at how often this occurs. So how do you get around that? How do you actually ensure that your idea has a viable chance of success? Has anybody ever had an idea that they thought, this is brilliant, this could change my work, it could change the woman that I'm dating, it could change what I'm getting for dinner, anything in your life that you're dissatisfied, and you were not able to persuade somebody to do it, even though you were convinced that it would benefit them? Anybody ever had that? Just the two people who are still awake in the audience. So the first thing is, if you're pitching an idea,
Best idea ever.
make sure it's for a problem that actually exists.
Awesome.
A perfect place for a coaching session.
This is
That would be a shitty coaching.
make sure there is actually a problem
To let go.
that needs to be solved. The second thing is, make sure the problem actually has pain. Because if the pain associated with the problem is small and trivial, nobody really cares. So if you're in an elevator with somebody and they don't smell good, and you're only going up one level, it's a bit of discomfort, but you don't really care. So the greater the level of pain that exists, the more likely you are to get an outcome. So who's ever seen The Simpsons?
I did.
Who likes Bart? Gentleman at the front, come up, you're going to be a volunteer. Bart Simpson knows all about pain. Because there's one classic episode that Lisa gets a small cut in her arm and has a bandage on it. And Bart goes, does it hurt? 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 And this goes on and on and on. So your job is to first identify that the problem exists, and then make this guy only think about this pain. The small, trivial pain that he's ignored for weeks. You need that to be the sole focus of his mind. And until you do that, do not go on to anything else. Okay? You may sit down. Thank you very much. Now, who here is from Poland? This is where the Polish people fall down. Unless somebody is going to pay for the problem to go away, you have one of two things. Anybody have any idea what those two things could be? Let me tell you. You either have a hobby or a charity. And that's fine. But unless somebody is prepared to pay for your problem to go away, that's all it's ever going to be. It is never going to be a business. Following on from that, there is always a person who is going to make the decision and write the check. Sometimes this person can be kind of hard to get access to.
Sort of.
So unless you know how to get access to this decision maker, you do not have a business. In fact, I go so far as to say, unless you have a letter from that person to say that they're prepared to pay money for your problem to go away, you will never have a business. Okay? Nice to see you all still with me. So what is the recipe for success? Does anybody know who this gentleman is?
No.
No.
Any takers?
Obama?
Well.
Ralph Smedley.
I don't know what you're drinking, but I think we're going to have to cut you off. I'm sorry about that. If I said the name Samuel Pierpont Langley, does that ring any bells to anybody here?
No.
Does anybody know who Elon Musk is?
Yes.
This was his equivalent. Samuel Pierpont Langley headed up the Smithsonian Institute. He was the greatest engineer of his era. He was given over £100,000 in the late 1880s in order to develop powered flight. He had the entire wealth of the American nation at his disposal. That was his job, because he was the guy that had the proven track record at delivering great things. Anybody know who these two guys are? Yes. Now, what qualifications had these guys for success?
I guess not.
A moustache?
I think we really should point out the video that this guy has a huge amount of facial hair, which he will come to regret in years to come. But right now, it is on trend. So absolutely, these guys built bicycles. And not on a large industrial scale, they did it as a bit of a hobby. They had no resources. I'm pretty sure that one of them got to 3rd grade of secondary school and the other didn't even make it that far. So from an educational point of view, they had nothing. From a resource point of view, they had nothing. There was nothing about these two guys that you would have thought gives them any chance of success whatsoever. Especially whenever you consider who it was that they were growing up with. But, as we all know now from history, who succeeded? The Wright brothers. And how did that unfold? Well, the very minute, this guy, by the way, everywhere he went had an entourage. reporters following him every step of the way. Every single time he did an experiment, they had reporters from around the world covering what it was that he was doing. It was almost like, you know, the SpaceX race in terms of the rockets. Media everywhere. That was the attention that he was getting. Whenever these guys did powered flight for the first time, they had 2 or 3 of their friends there. Whenever they contacted the local papers to say that they did it, all of the media coverage was about these 2 guys who were con artists who could not possibly have done this. And it took them between 6 and 9 months to actually start to persuade people to actually come to see their powered flight. But what they had was a passion. This is something that they loved. This is something that they lived and breathed every second of the day. This gentleman, with all the resources at his disposal, the day that it was proven that they had managed to accomplish powered flight for the first time, he stopped completely working the project. He just quit. Because his motivation was not there. He was in it for the glory, for the prestige. They were in it because they actually cared about the outcome. And that is the difference. So people constantly come to me and pitch. And normally their pitch is something like this. Dermot, you have money, you have access to even more money, and we have none. And they think there's going to be some sort of osmosis. Mm-hmm. That the flow of money is just going to naturally occur from those that have money to those that don't. Mm-hmm. And that's never going to happen. So whenever people are looking at any project, it is about the belief in these people that they are going to overcome adversity. That because there always will be setbacks. So if you're trying to pitch something, especially if it's outside of your normal sphere, if you're trying to pitch for a promotion, effectively what you're doing is you're saying, I do not have the skill sets to do this job yet. And you're selling them on the belief that you're going to overcome whatever problems will be put in your way in order to achieve that. And that is one of the key ingredients for any successful company or any successful business. So, how do you get people to give you a yes? Well, give me examples or give me reasons why people say no to things. Has anybody heard no in the last week?
Yeah.
Hands. Did anybody feel that they deserved a yes?
Yes.
Hands. Oh, suddenly we've woken up. Welcome back. So what were the reasons given for the no?
They don't care. They don't believe.
Too ugly.
You're not interested.
If you offend
Wouldn't understand that one, I'm sorry. Does not compute. Keep going.
Not interested?
Okay.
no advantages.
Okay. So, it is very simple to get anybody to say yes to anything. Because remember, your starting point is to understand that the other person doesn't care. So you have to make them care before you ask for the yes. So, rule number 1, make them look good. Instead of you talking to them about how this is going to benefit you, you talk to them about how this benefits them. Because they don't care if you look good. They only care if they look good. And that affects every single thing that we do. The young lady who came here to get points, why did you want the points?
I was told to.
Because it will make you look good. It'll make the company look good. When you all got up in the morning, obviously I'm the exception and the bearded gentleman will come to regret his decisions. But everybody else got up and thought, I'm going to choose my clothes based on what will make me look good. The company that you keep is the same thing. Pretty much every decision that you make will have that as part of the elements. So, make sure that you know how to make them look good. It's really easy to gauge how quickly people can read. So, the next thing is this. Again, the I don't care is always your starting point for the other person. If they perceive this is going to have a big risk for them, the answer is always no. So if you're asking somebody to do something that is innovative or different, and you don't understand the implication it is going to have for them and their risk, don't pitch it. You need to know that before you do it. Because so many times I hear people, and I'm asking them, with this great idea, I'm going, who did you talk to? And has anybody ever heard the expression, getting a goose to vote for Christmas?
No.
In the UK and Ireland, the Christmas dinner is goose or turkey. And if you ask somebody to vote for their own execution, are they going to say yes? No. Well done. So you always understand the impact upon what this is in terms of the risk for that decision maker. Because a lot of companies pay based on the number of staff that you have underneath them. So if you're going, I have a great idea. I can reduce the cost of your staff by half. And he's looking going, I don't get paid any money based on actual money spent. I get paid money because I have 14 staff working for me. If you reduce it to 7, I'm going to lose 3 points in the scale, and that's going to cost me this amount of money per year. Simple. So, reduce the risk. Because a lot of times what you're doing is you're asking somebody to step out into the unknown. So how do you do that? Understanding the risk is your first thing. And then you need to give people stepping stones. So instead of doing the big leap, that they're taking a small step. And if that's done and they're happy with it, then you progress to another small step. And that can be involving looking at doing a pilot. That can be involved doing something that is cost neutral. Or saying, I will do this as a side project. And as long as you map out a roadmap that says, if the following occurs, then automatically this is the outcome. Because otherwise what you're going to do is you're going to do a lot of activity, and afterwards they're going to go, I still don't care. So you need to negotiate. You need to show how you de-risk the project and map out stepping stones so that once the things occur, that you automatically go on, that you have a trigger event. Okay? Third thing. Do we know what hassle is? Do we like hassle?
No.
Why do we have remote controls?
Because we're too lazy to get it.
Yeah. How hard would it be for me to walk over and to press this button? But look, I've got this instead. Do I really need it? No. But once I have it, do I want the hassle of going back to that? Definitely not. So you need to understand the implications for any decision maker in terms of the hassle that is going to be involved for them to take on your idea. And you cheat. Understand the hassle, show how you're going to remove it. Make somebody look good. Get rid of the risk, get rid of the hassle, and you will get a yes. The key is asking the right questions to understand each of those three things. So always do that in advance. Always do it by a dialogue. And one of the things that I always do is I cheat. Because I don't say to them that I'm looking for these decisions. I say I'm looking for advice. I say, you're an expert in this field. Tell me about the implications that this would have for the different people. And they will tell me. And then I will cheat again and I say, so if it was you who were bringing forward this idea, how would you go about it? Because effectively then they sell themselves. So those are the three things in order to get a yes, and that works in any situation. It doesn't matter if you're trying to approach a girl or a boy, it doesn't matter if you're looking for a promotion, it doesn't matter what it is that you're doing. If you can understand those three things and eliminate them in advance, you will get a yes. So, I'm going to open up the floor, and you can ask me any question you want, and I will try and answer it as well as possible, as long as it relates to pitching. Just before we get asked about, the unladen flight speed over European swallowing. So, any problems that you guys have, go for it.
How do you sell yourself as I'm at the beginning of my career, as an inexperienced person in whatever I'm doing?
You cheat.
How? How do I cheat to get to know why they should invest the money in the risk that I am?
Okay, so be more specific. So, what are you looking to achieve?
I want to get a job.
You want to get a job?
Yes.
Have you identified the company that you'd like to work with?
Yes.
Okay, have you gone and found somebody and said, I would be prepared to work as your assistant for free for this period of time, and if I can deliver the following, then you will agree to bring me on board?
No, I haven't. Is that the only way?
That's the simplest way.
Okay.
You've taken away the risk. The person's going to go, oh, I can get somebody to do a crappy work that I don't want to do. So the risk for them is negligible. The reward is there for you. It makes it very easy for them to say yes. And you keep on asking them the question, so what would it take? What's the best way of approaching this? You need to get them to engage on the specific mechanisms.
So I ask them, what would it take for you to take
You find out who makes the decisions. So if you're looking to achieve anything, go identify who the decision maker is. Because they're the only person that counts. And then you need to turn around and ask them a series of questions, which will identify what the problems that they have and how you can solve it and how you can benefit it. And therefore, what you're taking away is that risk for them to say, okay, I'll give this person a chance. If it doesn't work out, well, hey, I've had somebody make the tea and coffee for the last week and do the photocopy. And if I see this person has potential, I can give them a little more experience. And once it goes to a certain point, then it moves into a different arena. So again, you need to understand how that decision-making process works. And if that person has the power to do it. Because if they don't, there's no point even talking to them.
Actually, I'm curious, is there a way to convince someone to say yes, even if they're let's say, not convinced that they want to do something? For instance, I wanted to promote in my club to a colleague to go to a conference, and he said that, okay, this year my New Year resolution is not to network with more people and so on, so it sounds like the perfect place for him to fulfill this New Year resolution. But at the end he said, I'll think about it. So.
Because his starting point was, I don't care. So you always have to come back to what is the motivation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I used to be an athlete. Clearly that's a while ago. Whenever I came to Poland, I had 10.4% body fat. I played an awful lot of competitive sport. Since I've come to Poland, I have not entered. I set foot in the gym once. And that was it. Now, I understand all of the benefits of going to the gym for a healthy lifestyle and all that sort of stuff. However, clearly I'm not doing it. So you need to actually turn around and instead of saying, oh, it was your resolution, you need to find out why it was his resolution. So you need to go back to the emotional engagement. Because we work on different levels. Who here has a product from Apple? No. Why? Can anybody tell me why they actually bought the Apple over the equivalent technical spec machine?
It's reliable.
I like it.
Because it has a good marketing strategy.
Brand is a promise.
Yeah.
The fundamental difference is that Apple engages us on an emotional level. You will never see an Apple ad which talks about the technical spec of anything. It doesn't say that we have a 7.4 inch screen or 11.3 inch screen. It says we have a larger screen. It allows you to do this and that and the other. It shows you how this benefits you. So it's all about the emotional engagement. Apple fundamentally are selling you something in the belief, in the promise that this will make your life better and easier. Whereas you go into any other store and you look at a spec and you get confused and you're looking, okay, so Intel Core L7. That means something. And it's got a fingerprint thingy. Right. And it's got memory and stuff. And you're seeing rows after rows after rows, all of these technical specs, and it's confusing. Whereas Apple has a simple message. Our devices make your life easier. And that's very reassuring. So if you're looking to persuade somebody and they have the intention and if there's a disconnect between what they say and what they do, you need to understand what is driving them to make this and why is that and why that disconnect actually exists. Because if somebody says, I want to go and do more networking, it is probably because they want to improve their interpersonal skills. That they know that they need to be out there in order to create business opportunities. But there's normally a block, there's normally a reason why they're not doing it. Unless you identify what that block is, you're not going to be able to persuade them.
Okay.
Any other takers? Come on.
How about dealing with someone who doesn't like you? No, I'm serious. Like, you know, if you have a boss who just doesn't seem to connect with you, how do you move up? Not that I have that now, but in my past I did.
Start off with asking why.
Oh, you don't like this? Just
Absolutely. No, I would turn around and say, look, I realize that we don't have the best relationship, and I'm wondering what it is that I can do in order to improve that. Or, you know, if there are any particular things that annoy you that I could address.
Interesting. And what if, like, the person doesn't want to listen to it? Or, like, lies?
Well, in every situation, what you have to do is, if you have, the advice that I give a lot of startups, because they normally come to me with large problems, and I give them simple advice. If you have shit choices, choose the least shitty one. Right? So yes, you can do that, but you also should be looking at how you can transfer, how you can bypass that, but always look at what the other implications are. Right? Because you know, within certain companies, like I own a recruitment company, for example, and if I'm doing high-level appointees, I will look at somebody's CV, and I will know the track, how quickly somebody should progress up different stages. So in most of the big consultancy companies, for example, I can look at the CV and turn around and say, they should have had a promotion quicker than that. And I want to know why. And I normally pick up the phone to somebody that I know with another organisation and go, what's going on here? So if you're in an organisation that you should be fast-tracked with a certain speed and that's not happening, then you need to look at going into a different organisation. You need to be looking at transfer. You need to look at how you overcome that. You know, so if there's a brick wall, someone's going to be walking around it. You don't just keep on going. Because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Any other takers?
How do you pitch yourself outside of professional zone? Let's say at meetings like that, conferences, you want to meet someone. You think that he may benefit you. How do you make them care about you?
Simple. You walk up to them and go, just the man I wanted to meet. I hear you're an absolute expert in this field. Could you do me a favour and give me just 2 minutes of your time?
You dropped your Viagra.
Okay. If you appeal to somebody's ego, you're making them look good. You're taking away the risk because you're giving a very defined period of time. So the risk to them is low. You're making them look good by saying that they're an expert. You're making them feel good. The risk is tiny and there's very little hassle.
But if it's not expert at all, he's not good in anything.
So you need to be very clear about the reason that you want to talk to them. And if he's not an expert on what you want to talk to him, why are you going to talk to him?
All right, you seem nice and I'm bored. That's why.
Are you single by any chance? Ladies, would anybody like to give some feedback on that statement? The advice that I gave earlier, which is if you have shitty choices, go for the least shitty one, is not what you physically say to a woman that you're interested in. Just as a heads up.
You just have changed his life.
He's still thinking about it.
Alright. I got the lesson.
Any other questions? Oh, we've got 5 minutes.
Maybe another one. About professional field, have you ever hired someone basing just on how he pitched himself in front of you, knowing that someone else has more skills in the field, but he's not as good in pitching as the other one?
Pitching affords a window of opportunity. So get somebody's attention. However, very few credible business people are going to make decisions purely based on that. So there are people, and you will all have come across them, who are fantastic salespeople, but have no ability to implement or to follow through. Have we ever come across anybody like that in our life? Hands. The more westernized you become, the more of that you're going to experience. So you need to understand that the pitch affords a window of opportunity. All you're doing is selling the opportunity to go into something in more detail, unless you have a track record with that person. Okay? So it comes down to credibility and it comes down to believability. So does anybody know what the Hyperloop is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Has anybody ever been into macro?
Macro?
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe some people are also curious, but I don't know what Hyperloop is.
Hyperloop is the high-speed connection that Elon Musk is promoting.
Transport. No.
Yes.
Transport.
And effectively what it is you have a tunnel with extremely low pressure with most of the air sucked out, and then you have a train goes inside it, gets pressurized, people go in it and get sucked along at incredibly high speed. Right?
Cool.
Absolutely. And Elon Musk is advocating this, and there's trials, and actually there's 2 Polish teams who are part of the bid process of the final 3. However, if you go into macro, you will see the same system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it is whenever they take the money and they put it into a tube, and stick the tube up, it goes whoosh, gets sucked up and gets dropped into the safe. So this system has been around for over 100 years. But it is because it is Elon Musk that people are getting excited about. Because the cost of the infrastructure is enormous. But because it is Elon Musk, because he has a track record, people believe that he will be able to achieve it. And that is the difference. So pitching, in general, if you're pitching to somebody you don't already know or have a business relationship with, all that does is sells the opportunity to go into something in more detail. Because that's the outcome that you should be looking for. You should be pitching for an appointment. You should know that. Right? In the same way as even now, I have relationships with an awful lot of VCs. I advise a lot of VCs. I cheat, I never pitch them. I phone them up and go, here, listen, I've got an interesting thing here, and I know that you would know more about this subject than I would. And I give them an overview, and then they tell me everything I need to do. I don't need to do the due diligence. They will tell me everything. And if I think the thing is really viable, if I pick the right person, they'll normally go, damn it, yeah, we want part of that action. Because I know how they make the decisions, I know what they do and how they go forward. So that's the key thing. You know, I would never personally hire somebody just off a one-off good pitch. For my own software companies that I've built up, we don't do interviews. We give them a task. Because interviews are, I personally think, are bullshit. There's no reflection of the thing that you're actually doing. So we give people tasks and we assess how they do in the task. And we give them a task that is completely correlated to what they would actually be doing in work. So that's the first thing. Then what we do is if they pass the test, I drop them in with the team, the people that they're going to be working with, send them out for dinner. If anybody comes back and go, he was an asshole, we don't hire him. Simple. More questions? Is everybody still awake?
No.
Well, in that case, we have a couple of minutes. You can come up and ask me questions individually. Here's my contact details if you want to have a chat. I shall be about for a wee while. Thank you very much.
Thank you.